Uber drivers can, through their account, enter rental marketplace, where they will see Getaround hourly tile and weekly tile displayed. We offer flexibility to someone who has their own car and doesn't
Hmm.
want to use it to just get a car for a few hours when they know the business is peaking truly, go out there and make money. And I think that at the same time, for someone who knows they need a car a little longer, using the weekly tile and getting a really heavy discount.
Maria Briskman is the Vice President and General Manager of the gig division at Getaround, where she leads the development and expansion of the company's business and operations. With over 15 years of experience in leadership and business operations, Maria has a proven track record of driving growth and success in complex and challenging business environments, such as Smithsonian, WeWork, and her own real estate investment firm, to name a few. So, Maria, I'm excited to chat with you today. How are you?
Likewise, I'm doing fantastic. I feel so honored, so privileged to be here because I'm a big fan.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can meet your expectations and then some. And I'm excited to chat in because there is a lot going on with the Get Around brand these days. And I think sort of a good starting point is with a company that I think my audience is going to be very familiar with because I've been talking about them for the past 10 years, and that is HyreCar. So why don't we start there and talk for those who may not know or may not have heard the news about Get Around and HyreCar. Tell us about the two companies as one these days.
Absolutely. That's a great way to start. I have personally started with HyreCar in
Hmm.
October of 2022. I joined the company as a director of operations, and the company was on a very quick rise and on a path to rapid growth.
Hmm.
We have been going through a lot, unfortunately, due to the change of leadership right after I joined, and I promise I had nothing to do with that. But later in May of 2023, the company was actually sold to Getaround. And now we are one. Getaround at the time was already dipping their toes in Rideshare
Hmm.
and testing their grounds as they've had secured an official partnership with Uber at the time.
Hmm.
And so it seemed like a very logical expansion for them into the gig space, as they have definitely seen a lot of benefit in it for their customers. And for HyreCar, it also seemed as a very organic move because of Getaround's great brand name,
Hmm.
amazing customer service, and product that was really good at the time as well. So it was a win-win, actually win-win-win, because it was also a win for the customers. And so since May, we have been operating as one unit. We still operate on two platforms. And I am now in charge of Rideshare that I've mentioned on the
Hmm.
Get Around, that official partnership with Uber, as well as HyreCar continued business combined. So
Got it.
that's it in short.
Got it. Yeah. And I think that when this news came out, I thought it was kind of a cool partnership because HyreCar is well known in the rideshare space. I mean, I literally remember visiting, I think they're probably one of the first partners that I ever visited in person in Los Angeles. I want to say 8, 9, 10 years ago. I remember it was a WeWork in downtown LA. And so it was cool to kind of learn about the concept. And I think as someone who's been in the industry, and I'm very familiar with the brand, I think a lot of people that are looking for rentals or looking for vehicles know that. And then, of course, Get Around on the customer side, just when you need a car, you kind of want that, marketplace for vehicles instead of having to wait in the rental line. Everyone knows it. So I guess I don't know if there was much more beyond the synergies, but it seems like it makes a lot of sense to kind of combine those two types of brands.
It definitely does. I think that now that we are knee deep into this merge, we are finding more and more synergies every
Yeah.
day. There is an amazing Connect device that Get Around has been using as one of the very big parts of their business concept overall, that allows for remote
Mm,
check-in and check-out, that allows for a very flawless and seamless experience for both owners and drivers.
got it.
And I think that could be an exciting future synergy for HyreCar to explore. We are not there yet, but it's
Hmm.
just one example
Got
of,
it.
of, of those big future plans.
Yeah, and I've used Getaround before. So, I mean, I think that's one of those examples where, everybody hates going to the rental car. I won't throw anyone under the bus, but I think the last time I rented a real car, I was sitting in line waiting, they're trying to upsell you on insurance and all the kind of painful parts. And then when you do use Getaround or, kind of they've got the connected device, you open the app and it automatically unlocks. It's like kind of like magic. You're like, wow, you pick up the car, you put your luggage in and you go. And so, yeah, I definitely like the idea of finding those products from the consumer side that will apply well and sort of help rideshare drivers, because actually that exact problem we've heard from rideshare drivers too, that they get to a lot, the vehicle's not ready, it's not clean. And really, when you're renting a vehicle, you need that car to make money, right? So if you're sitting there for an hour or two and you're not able to access and not able to get onto the platforms and drive for Uber, you're kind of costing yourself money there, right?
Totally. I think that in the spirit of not calling names, I do think that one of the very, very critical differentiating points for HyreCar through the years and this Drive with Uber program on the global platform of Getaround as
Hmm.
well is just the flexibility. And
Yeah.
I think that the flexibility that the business has to offer has been a very good tool for rideshare drivers to use in order to unlock exactly what you were talking about, time. And time
Hmm.
is of an essence when we are talking about a gig driver, about a hustler that needs to be making money ASAP. They don't have time to wait in line. They don't have time to clean the car and to go into all of the back and forth with the owner or with the
Yeah.
platform. And so all of the efforts that my team
Hmm.
has in terms of product improvement these days, or in terms of customer support improvement overall, are aimed exactly at that, is to
I
how
like
to
that.
make an experience for drivers faster, more seamless, as well as allowing them to make more money. And I think
Hmm.
that it's a part of the platform that makes us so different from car share,
Hmm.
from our get around counterpart, even on car share side. Because on our platform, both parties make money.
Yeah.
Owners make money while they're posting their cars and having our drivers use them, and our drivers can finally unlock that earning potential or flexibility for
Yeah.
themselves on our platform as well.
Well, you hit on two things that I want to dig into. Flexibility is the first one. I think this is kind of the most obvious one, right? Like everybody loves the gig economy because it's flexible. You guys will get into the product, the Drive with Uber product for Getaround because it is very flexible. But I think the second thing you said that sort of stood out in my head, I don't know what the best term is. You might be more of a marketer than me, but I kind of think of it as like fast earnings. Like you mentioned, drivers don't want to wait. They need to make money, right? They can't be waiting for a car wash. The car has to be ready when when they go. It can't break down, right? Like you need kind of like fast access, fast earnings. I don't know how you think about that, but I really like that your team is focused on that because I don't think people realize like just how important that is for a driver.
Absolutely, agreed. I think that both can be merged in the same topic in a way. Drive with
Hmm.
Uber program is active right now on our
Hmm.
Getaround platform. Uber drivers can, through their account, enter rental marketplace, where they will see Getaround hourly tile and weekly tile displayed in most of the markets. In some of the
Hmm.
markets, we only have hourly offering. And I think that just knowing and understanding the fact that there is no other platform that would be offering
Mm.
hourly rentals, at least since I did my last sweep. Please forgive me if I'm not up to date, but it must have just been something recent if there is one. But we have been the only ones in this for such a long time. We offer flexibility to someone who has their own car and doesn't
Hmm.
want to use it to just get a car for a few hours when they know the business is peaking truly, go out there and make money. And I think that at the same time, for someone who knows they need a car a little longer, using the weekly tile and getting a really heavy discount, I'm
Hmm.
talking about that good earnings right here and then,
Yeah.
is another piece of flexibility, right? And that is the financial flexibility that you've touched on as well. I believe that a lot of platforms use search to book as
Hmm.
a criteria, as a KPI. I believe in book to make money as
Hmm.
an amazing KPI for us to use and to utilize when we are talking about drivers and owners again on the other side of the platform. And so there are many ways to do it.
Yeah.
There are many people who we have on my team who are looking into how we can do it better. There's pricing component, there's
Hmm.
product matchability and just marketplace liquidity overall. There is inventory and
Yeah.
how diverse our inventory is. So there are a lot of levers, and we do have many eyes looking on it. Specifically, I do want to point out very talented eyes of Katie Krask, who is leading Drive with Uber
Hmm.
partnership and has made an amazing progress in terms of geography that we're covering with them, as well as just programs growth.
What markets is it available in?
So our biggest and most fastest growing
Hmm.
are LA, Atlanta, Philly, DC, and Boston. So
Got it.
here's where our efforts are concentrated at the moment.
Hmm.
Atlanta is our fastest growing market for Drive with Uber, and it just so coincides that it's also the largest market for HyreCar. So, talk about synergies.
Nice, nice. And, I guess for drivers who are looking to access the Drive with Uber program from Getaround, what's the best way? You mentioned the Uber vehicle marketplace, or can they go directly? And of course, we can leave a link in the show notes in the description for people who want to actually go and click that. But what do you usually tell drivers?
Absolutely. Yes, it is in their app. It is very conveniently built into the Uber account. When they are in their Uber account,
Hmm.
there is access to rental marketplace. And so once they click onto that, they will immediately see get around tiles. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you also mentioned something that I think is kind of cool. You said I believe you said diverse supply or a unique supply, right? When I go and click that get around tile, what kind of cars am I going to see? Is it beyond just the typical Toyota Camry and Corolla, or do you guys have a bunch of makes and models since you have that marketplace model?
Yeah, so we definitely hit it for almost any taste.
Hmm.
We do try to keep it still within rational framework of a gig driver.
Yeah.
Uh, so whatever will make sense for those earnings again. Yes, Camrys and Priuses. No ill words are going to come out of my mouth about
Hmm.
those because they are an amazing money maker for our drivers. I also do want to say that we have currently been exploring cargo vans as
Hmm.
an opportunity for last mile delivery drivers. And so this is one of the examples of how we want to serve a fast growing driver base that we have.
Yeah.
It also is not shying away from trying themselves on different platforms,
Yeah.
not just Uber, right? And
Yeah.
so on the hire car side, we right now have a very big active campaign on cargo vans and exploring that.
Very cool. No, I actually really like that. And I think that's a great way to look, especially with a program like Getaround that's so flexible by the hour. If you're looking at, for example, let's say you're normally doing Uber X and you want to try a vehicle that qualifies for Uber Comfort or a vehicle that qualifies for Uber XL, or, maybe in the future there's cars that even, one level up, right? There's all these different levels now that Uber has. And like you said, you can also jump across. And so I think it's kind of important to sort of highlight these opportunities. And for drivers, like I think that's one of the best parts about the gig economy is that you don't have to take a lot of risk. You don't have to go buy a cargo van and then you start doing the job and you're like, oh my God, I hate this, or the earnings aren't there, right? You can kind of test things a lot more flexibly, right?
I agree with you. I think that being in this partnership with Uber and understanding different qualifications and understanding how they qualify certain vehicle types
Yeah.
for these different Uber programs has been critical for us to then communicate it to our owners
Hmm.
and to design our marketplace in a way that would encourage drivers, to your point, to try out different offerings and to try to maximize their earnings. So I won't be able, unfortunately, to provide all of the juicy details of everything that's cooking, but we definitely are
Yeah.
looking at specific Uber tiers with a lot of interest, and it takes a lot, but we're very optimistic that we'll be able to offer a very cool inventory for those specific tiers.
Yeah, very cool. Well, and before we move on to the hire car piece of the business, I'm curious, one of the things I really love about, talking to folks like yourself and working with fleet owners who are renting vehicles is I think your success as a company is very aligned with the success of a driver, right? If I'm a driver and I'm renting, drive with Uber, get around, and I'm not making any money, I'm returning the car. And obviously you guys aren't happy about that, right? So you want me as a driver who's renting, earning money, keeping it, I'm assuming for a long time, are coming back. So, what are some of the drivers who you're talking to or that you're working with? What are some of the things you're seeing that the ones that are having the most success? What are you seeing? Are they picking specific types of vehicles? Are they working certain areas or times? Or what's your experience been like, with these drivers who are having success renting from you?
We have plenty of drivers who, as I've mentioned, are eager to utilize the flexible part of the marketplace and
Hmm.
capitalize on that. But true success that we have seen comes from long-term drivers.
Hmm.
There are multiple pieces that come to play with that. We have some renters who have been with us for over a year in the same
Yeah.
car. We have plenty of drivers who have been in their car for 100 days plus. And I think that it was because of the car that they've been matched with and because of the price of a
Hmm.
longer term rental that is being offered that provides that flexibility to make money and to be successful. Because when you are, not naming any names, in a place and in a rental environment where you are being squeezed for every dollar, no
Hmm.
matter how long you stay in the car, it definitely puts a lot of pressure on you financially and makes it very difficult for you to earn. Now, when it comes to specific tips around geography, bonuses, events happening, we actually decided not to invent the wheel. We
Hmm.
have a great partnership with Gridwise, and
Nice.
we offer an extended trial than what you normally would get if you just went
Hmm.
directly to them. So if you are a HyreCar Getaround gig customer, then you can get a much better deal on Gridwise app. So we rely on them, and they have a lot of great information onto when and how to provide those tips and tricks to Uber drivers based on geography and time and events.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good example. I think we were talking to a driver just this weekend who was earning about $45 an hour in San Francisco driving, which is pretty good for summer when it's typically a little slower. And I think he was really just talking about all of the events, that were kind of going on that weekend. And, apps like Gridwise we're obviously big fans of, because it gives you insights into events and kind of, looking at supply and demand and airport trends and things like that. So I think the thing to me is to highlight is that, especially when rideshare is a bit of a seasonal business, right? There are times that are slower and busier. So especially when things are slower, you kind of need to bust out all the tools and tricks and apps and everything you can. So cool to hear that, again, you guys are aligned with the drivers, supporting them with that Gridwise partnership. So I also wanted to touch a bit on HyreCar. And so how do you think, we talked a lot about the Drive with Uber and Getaround program. I don't know if you want to start with the differences or the similarities, but how do you think about HyreCar? If I'm a driver now, I just heard about Drive with Uber, Getaround, sounds pretty cool. What do we need to know about HyreCar?
I think that one most differentiating point that was such a big point of interest to Getaround when they were acquiring us coincides to be with that interest point for these drivers. We do offer gig rentals for any gig platform
Hmm.
that is available today to make money. I've mentioned last mile delivery. We have Amazon Flex drivers.
Hmm.
We have shipped drivers. We have roadie drivers.
Hmm.
Let's talk about meal delivery. We have representatives and drivers from DoorDash. We have Instacart. We
Cool.
have Grubhub. We have it all. And so this is, I think, is another layer of flexibility that we touched upon earlier that a lot of our drivers utilize. They would connect multiple accounts
Hmm.
of different platforms because we allow that and because they know
With the
that they
HyreCar platform.
correct. On the
Right.
HyreCar platform, you can connect multiple of you accounts of delivery and rideshare and drive for all of those. So I think that knowing when to drive for Uber versus knowing when to
Hmm.
drive for DoorDash and when for Amazon Flex could again help you maximize your earnings really, really well. And that I would say is the main differentiating point.
Got it. So the Drive with Uber, I guess the name kind of implies the Getaround partnership. It is Drive with Uber in the name, right? So I think that's kind
Correct.
of clear for drivers. And then for those who are looking to do multiple platforms or jump into delivery, that is kind of the pit, I guess the main pitch for the HyreCar platform, because HyreCar is also a marketplace for vehicles. So I guess you also have that kind of diverse supply and different types of vehicles there too, right?
We definitely do. I think that our offering on HyreCar might be, very similar in a
Hmm.
sense to what we have on Getaround. The difference is that on HyreCar, the process of communication between driver and owner is slightly different. We don't have the
Mm,
connect device that we've mentioned earlier. So to point out another difference, it would be a great way to build relationships with the owner from whom you're going to
yeah.
be renting, and to set expectations on both ends, because we operate on the pickup and drop off in person for the most part on the HyreCar platform, and we see how great of a relationship they're able to
Mm,
build just through those face-to-face interactions. So that would be
yeah.
another thing to point out.
Yeah, and I guess that it's important to kind of highlight, like you said, you are renting from a specific owner, right? Someone owns this vehicle, or maybe they own a couple vehicles, and then you are renting this vehicle from them on the hire car platform. You go out and drive with Uber and Lyft, and I think it's kind of nice if you meet them, because then you're probably going to hopefully take a little bit better care of the car and have a relationship like you mentioned. And I am excited because I know we're going. I'll tease a little bit. We are going to be interviewing a hire car renter and an owner, which I won't pick favorites, but I definitely am curious to learn about what it's like to be an owner and, put an actual vehicle on this platform. Can you talk a little bit more about that relationship, maybe some of the positives or maybe some of the negatives? What's the good and bad about that, or difference in general?
Absolutely. I think that some of the differences and specific edge cases are definitely coming from the fact of gig being the centerpiece use case for the rental. And
Hmm.
because of that, we obviously see higher mileage, we definitely see longer rentals, and we definitely see higher utilization. So it's a mix of good and bad per se. We also do definitely notice big difference in terms of the car condition because
Hmm.
of owners and drivers do meet.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that I do actually even want to use this as an opportunity to encourage all of the drivers to treat this car, whatever they rent from us or not from us, as it if it was their
Yeah.
own. It is going to contribute to your relationship with the owner, and you will be able to rent from them longer.
Yeah.
So I
Well, and
think
also,
that
like you said, the drivers who are having success are in these cars for the long term, right? So it kind of, even though it's someone else's car, you probably want to treat it like your car, right? Because
yes,
if you're causing issues on it and it has to go in for repairs or something like that, you may not be financially on the hook, but you won't be able to use that car for a few days or a week. So it does, I think that is actually kind of a cool difference to note that, when I'm using Getaround for car sharing, like I don't really want to meet the owner. I just want to go I land in the airport, I pick it up, I can get the car, I'm going to use it for a day or two and I'm gone. But you are right. That is kind of a cool distinction with the hire car platform that, having that relationship between owner and, driver is important for sure.
I agree. I think that it also is, again, a direct correlation with the earnings that the driver sees. I mean,
Hmm.
cleanliness of the car. We definitely know this from data that we have access to, that drivers whose cars are cleaner have higher rating, have
Hmm.
higher tips, and have higher probability of, getting more drivers in their cars. So yeah, it's again another win-win-win from all
Yeah.
fronts.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate all of the details on the hire car platform and Drive with Uber, Get Around. I'm curious to know before we wrap up here, what are some things that you're looking forward to, you're excited to with the Get Around platform? I don't know if it's continuing to merge. I won't hold you to it, but merging the Get Around and hire car aspects. You kind of tease that maybe looking at drivers being able to upgrade into different levels, on Uber, for example. What are some things you're excited about, either industry wide or with the company specifically?
Absolutely. There are multiple things, and there are a few things that I won't be able to,
Hmm.
unfortunately, go into full details. But one very exciting potential opportunity that is coming up is a partnership with a very big and well-known meal delivery and last mile delivery platform.
Cool.
I think that seeing the success of Drive with Uber definitely showed us how
Hmm.
having a centralized access and providing our
Yeah.
marketplace accessibility to drivers right then and there when they're in their app. It's going to be very beneficial. So extremely excited about that, hoping to launch the pilot in the very nearest future and more to come. Stay tuned.
Cool.
I think that finding more synergies between Drive with Uber and HyreCar and trying to provide our owners with an opportunity to rent out for one or the other is going to be critical. There's still some work that we need to do in order to bridge that gap between two platforms, but we are definitely on the way. And I have to say that there are ambitions about geographical expansion and dipping our toes into some of the new territories. And Getaround, for example, has a great successful business in Europe. And they're big in car share in France, in Norway, and in Spain. So I think that it might be an exciting opportunity for us to also explore new geographies, but none of that will be happening before we fix everything that needs to be fixed today, here and now, in the geography where we operate. And I think that we still have a lot of work to do. I want to thank anyone who is using HyreCar right now or Drive with Uber on Getaround, and very open to feedback and would love to hear any ideas on how we can do better. So yeah, this was great.
Definitely. Well, you made me think of a couple more questions. I'm not going to let you go just yet. But on the geography expansion, one thing I've always liked about HyreCar is I believe, I don't know, this is kind of what I've told people, that they're available in almost every state, right? Because I was kind of lazy and, they say, oh, where can I get a car? I say, oh, just go to HyreCar. I'm pretty sure they're available in every state. So is that correct? And I guess that's one also
Absolutely. Yes.
factor,
Being a marketplace, we obviously heavily depend on where owners are willing to list their inventory. But even if there is one owner who is listing their car today, is somewhere in a small town where you would normally not get some of the other services, yes, definitely check it out. Not guaranteed, because this owner might not be willing to rent it out today. But yes, we are present everywhere. We have 20 very active big markets and states where we're present, but we are as engaged in others as well.
And the best way for folks to check out the HyreCar marketplace, just hirecar.com, or do you have a specific link, best place?
HyreCar.com. I will share with you both links right after, so that Drive with Uber and HyreCar can be accessed easily.
Yeah, I see right on the homepage, HyreCar by Getaround, find a car. Do you think the company is more on the search right now for renters or owners? What's sort of more in demand if you had to pick one?
I can't pick one, unfortunately.
I know, it's like picking between your children. I figured that might be a tough question. But
It is tough, because I think that, to open up a little secret, we are doing very well in terms of utilization. And so I think that our balance between supply and demand is one of the things why the platform has been successful and existent for so many years. So if you're a driver, if you're an owner, our doors are wide open. Every driver and every owner matters to us. And so I think that, this is the one question where I can't pick one.
All good. That's what I figured. It seems like the marketplace looks pretty healthy. We will leave a link in the show notes and description for those who want to check out the Drive with Uber program with Getaround, and you can also access it from the Uber vehicle marketplace. But we'll leave a link to that if you want the quick access, and then of course a link to hirecar.com. And I'll give another plug for the upcoming interviews that we're going to have on our YouTube channel with a HyreCar driver and owner. Which, okay, I'm not going to pick favorites, but I am excited for both of those interviews too. So Maria, really appreciate you coming on and giving us the lowdown on the HyreCar and Getaround teaming up and all the cool products and services you're offering now and in the future.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Harry, for having me.
Thanks for watching today's episode of the Rideshare Guy podcast. For more information on today's guest, please check the description. Now, you don't want to miss this interview of the Rideshare Guy podcast, so click here and also make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future ones. See you next time.